Hey guys, this is a short version of my Mateba MTR-8 review. It's a double-action, single-action competition revolver designed in the early 1980s by Emilio Ghisoni at the Mateba company in Pavia, Italy. This one happens to be an MTR-8, which means it holds 8 rounds of .38 special. There were a few different variations that held, one of them was the MTR-12, which held 12 rounds of .32 Smith & Wesson. Another one was MTR-14, which held 14 rounds of .22 long rifle. And there was also, I think, an 8-round version that held .357 Magnums, but there's pretty much no information available about any of those other variations. Even this one is incredibly elusive and hard to find. There are only 10 of these in the country. I believe they're impossible to find in Europe too. So I feel really fortunate to have found one and to be able to own one. The reason the gun is sort of known is because of how bizarre looking it is. It's one of the first things people notice is the way the cylinder is way up front. This little stubby barrel that's way up front and down low. Just the whole thing put together looks really strange, but it was designed on purpose that way. Emilio put the cylinder way up front and the barrel way down low in an effort to keep recoil and muzzle flip down. With all that weight up there, it keeps the barrel from rising too much, and it lets you get faster follow-up shots when you're in competition. While it looks strange, but it actually does serve a purpose. I haven't shot this one yet, so subscribe to my channel. I am going to put together a shooting video in a couple weeks, I think, so be on the lookout for that. But I haven't shot it yet, but I believe it'll be pretty sweet to shoot because of that. It'll keep the recoil down a lot. I'll talk about the ergonomics a little bit. The grip feels pretty good. This juts out a little bit too much for my hand, but otherwise it feels pretty good. It's definitely very front heavy. The gun is kind of heavy in general, although not as heavy as I thought it would be. It's in the mid 40 ounce range, somewhere around in there. But it's really front heavy. Otherwise it feels pretty good. It sits down nice and low in the hand. I'll show you the sight picture here. There's the front sight and the rear sight. The rear sight's fixed, and the front sight is kind of interesting how you can adjust it. You have to get a special tool to adjust the front sight, and when you have that tool, what you can do, let me see if I can zoom in on it even, is that square peg, it rotates around the center axis of that disc sort of. And using the special tool, you move the sight left and right by rotating that square around the disc. It's kind of interesting. Keeping an eye out for that tool, but I'm pretty confident I'll never see one of those because the gun itself is rare enough, let alone accessories for it. Talk about the controls a little bit. This is how you cock the gun. There's this lever here. You pull that back, and it cocks it into single action. Show you the trigger pull a little bit. It's pretty good, really. I was impressed with that. It is a competition gun, so I would hope the trigger would be pretty decent. Single action, not much creep, not much travel at all. It's pretty light. And I have dummy rounds in here, so I'll show you those in a second. Double action also feels pretty good. It's maybe a little bit long, not really though, and it's not too heavy. It's definitely a very smooth trigger too. I like the way it feels. I'll pop open the cylinder now, show you how that works. It's kind of interesting too. If you notice on the cylinder also I have some strips of black tape there. That's because I noticed the drag line started to form from my dry firing it, and I hate those, so I put those strips of tape there to prevent that from happening. The way you load the gun, you see it's an 8-round revolver. It comes with this, it's sort of like a moon clip, and it's like a clamshell. You open it up by twisting, I don't know if this will show up at all, but there's a little bar in there, and when you twist it, if you get it lined up, you can pop open this clamshell, and you load your 8 rounds. I only have 6 dummy rounds because that's what came in the package, so I just always make sure I'm dropping the firing pin on a live dummy round, I guess. But once that's loaded up, flip that in there, and so you got your cylinder loaded up. And I guess that's a competition thing too, so it's sort of like moon clips, and you can just quickly do a reload. But putting it back in is it's not really tricky, but you just have to be careful because the previous owners obviously he bashed it a little bit because this cylinder release here, it doesn't close unless you actually are actively pushing it down. So I have to always be careful with that. Yeah, the gun, it's one of my favorite ones just because I'm obsessed with weird guns, and I'm really proud to own it. I like just kind of messing with it and dry firing it and everything. I'm impressed with the trigger. Overall build quality seems good. And yeah, it's a really cool gun, the Mateba MTR-8. Like I said, stay tuned for a shooting video. I'll be putting that together pretty soon here. I think it'll be the first one on YouTube or on the internet even, video of this thing shooting. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, really cool gun, Mateba MTR-8.